It's 6:07 a.m. You open your banking app. It spins and spins. Then a clean little sentence shows up like a gun behind glass. Service temporarily unavailable. You blink, you refresh. Same thing. You tell yourself the line they taught you. It's probably just maintenance. So you go to the ATM. Black screen, no welcome message, no menu, just a dead box staring back at you. You try your card at the gas station on the way to the store. Declined. Not because you're broke, because the system is. And in that moment, the truth hits you like cold water. You don't own money in a bank. You own access. And access can be turned off. Now look up. While the sleeping herd argues about politics, while the talking heads smile and tell you inflation is cooling, while your grocery bill quietly eats your retirement one bite at a time, silver just did something that should make every saver sit straight up. It hit $115. Not a rumor, a printed number. And something worse happened behind the curtain. Dubai is flashing silver around 400 plus AED per ounce. Shanghai is paying a premium over $14 above London for the same metal. That is not market noise. That is a siren. Because when the East pays more than the West, it means something simple. The price on your screen is the paper price, the promised price, we swear it's their price, but the real price, the price for physical, the price for metal you can touch, that price is starting to float away from the lie. They told you silver was just an industrial metal. They told you it was too bulky. They told you gold is the only one that matters. They told you that because they needed you calm. They needed you passive. They needed you inside the casino. Chips on the table, eyes on the bright lights, while they quietly moved toward the exits. Here's the part most people never learn until it's too late. When silver moves like this, it's not a trade, it's a vote. A vote against debt, against promises, against a system built on IOUs and confidence tricks. And today, that vote just turned into a stampede. Because silver is not just a metal, it's a stress test. It's the canary in the coal mine. It's the crack in the dam. And when the crack shows, the water doesn't negotiate. It breaks. Let's say it plainly. The system is a bathtub, and the drain is open, debt is the water, interest is the leak. Washington is holding the faucet wide open like a kid playing with a garden hose. As of January 7th, 2026, U.S. gross national debt is about $38, 43 trillion, and it's rising fast. The same report breaks it down like a horror movie. Over $8 billion per day. You heard that? Billions. Per day. That's not spending. That's a bonfire. And they are throwing your purchasing power into it like kindling. Now stop. Ask yourself one question. If you're retired, living on a fixed income, watching every dollar, could you survive if the dollar bought half of what it buys today? Could you keep your home? Could you keep your car? Could you keep your dignity? Because that is where this goes when debt grows faster than reality. Not because I'm doom and gloom, because math does not care about feelings, math does not vote, math does not negotiate, math collects. And here's where it gets personal. They tell you, don't worry, your money in the bank is insured. They say it like it's a force field, a magic spell. FDIC, say the letters. Feel safe? No, here's the truth. FDIC insurance is real, but it has a cap, $250,000 per depositor, per bank, per ownership category. That sounds big until you're the person who saved for 40 years, until you have a joint account, a CD ladder, a retirement rollover, a checking account for bills, a savings account for emergencies. And then you realize the cap isn't comfort, it's a fence. And fences are there to keep people in. The bigger truth is this: insurance is only as strong as the fund behind it. So look at the fund, FDIC's deposit. Insurance fund balance was about $150, $1 billion as of September 30th, 2025. Now look at what it's supposed to cover, about $10, $7 trillion in domestic deposits. Do the math with me. $150 billion protecting $10. $7 trillion. That's not a shield. That's a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Roughly 1 to 2 cents on the dollar in the fund versus what's insured. So when people say they'll just insure everyone, remember what that actually means. To save the system, they must either print, borrow, or change the rules. And they always pick the option that protects them first. Because that's what systems do when they're cornered. They don't confess, they clamp down, they tighten, they ration, they redefine words, they change what ownership means, they rewrite the fine print, and they do it with a smile. Now, go back to silver. Silver doesn't move like this because people suddenly love jewelry. Silver moves like this when confidence dies, when big money senses lifeboats are limited, when insiders smell smoke and stop asking questions. And that is why Shanghai is paying $14 more than London. That is the global market saying 3 simple things. Physical is scarce, paper is cheap, get the real thing. And I haven't even told you the scariest part yet. Because silver isn't just rising, it's separating. Two markets, two prices. One truth. This isn't a theory. This is math. Now we talk about the trap. Because when a system is failing, it doesn't announce it. It tightens its grip, quietly, legally, with helpful new tools. They're building a world where money becomes permission, not property. Permission. You think you own dollars. But in a digital rail system, dollars can be programmed, tracked, limited, frozen. And here's the trick. They don't have to take your money. They just have to control when you can use it. Where you can use it, what you can use it for. They can put speed bumps on your life. They can put a padlock on your choices. Now, do we have a full U.S. retail CBDC officially issued today? No, but pay attention. Because the debate is loud, the research is real, the rails are being explored, and Congress has been debating bills about it, including bills designed to restrict a Fed-issued digital dollar without Congress. You don't need a formal CBDC on day one. You just need a system where your payments are routed through regulated pipes, where your digital dollars sit inside platforms, where your access can be changed with policy. And look at what's already moving. A major stablecoin regulatory framework, the Genius Act, was signed into U.S. law in July 2025. That matters, because stablecoins are dollar rails, and rails are what you need before you can lock the doors. This is how the cage is built, not with bars, with convenience, with security, with anti-fraud, with just one more verification, and the sleeping herd will clap for it, because the sleeping herd always trades freedom for comfort, until comfort becomes a leash. Now, imagine this. You wake up on a Monday. The news says temporary. Your bank says temporary. The government says temporary. But temporary has a funny habit of becoming permanent. You go to fill up your tank. Gas is $11 a gallon. Not because of greed, because the dollar is melting and supply is choking. You go to buy extra groceries. The card reader flashes, transaction not approved. You call the bank, you get a script, a polite voice, temporary restrictions. You try to move money. The transfer takes days, then weeks. You try to withdraw cash. There's a limit, a small limit, a humiliating limit. You stand in line like it's 1979 again, hoping you're early enough to get what you need. Your pension arrives, but it buys 30% less. Your savings statement still shows the same number, but your lifestyle shrinks like a wool sweater in boiling water. And the worst part? You did everything right. Worked, saved, didn't gamble, didn't chase memes, didn't buy things you couldn't afford, and you still get punished. Because the system needs a sacrifice, and the easiest sacrifice is the saver, the retiree, the person holding paper promises. That's the trap. And that is why silver is screaming right now. Because silver is the metal that exposes lies, gold is the king, but silver is the crowd. Silver is the pressure release valve. Silver is the metal the middle class can still reach for. And the crowd just started running. So what do? You don't panic, you don't freeze, you don't become part of the sleeping herd. You build lifeboats, real ones, not inflatable toys. Because paper wealth is a promise, and promises break. Let me say a sentence most financial advisors will never say on television. You need assets with no counterparty. That means no CEO, no banker, no app login, no terms of service, no Sunday night policy surprise. That's why physical gold and physical silver are not investments first. They are survival tools. They are freedom tools. They are insurance you can hold. They are bearer assets. They are the difference between I hope they let me and I can. Now let's talk about counterparty risk like adults. If you own a stock, a bond, an ETF, a retirement account full of paper claims, you are trusting a chain. Brokers, custodians, clearinghouses, banks, rules, courts. That chain looks strong until stress hits. Then links snap. And when links snap, they don't ask your permission. They don't schedule an appointment. They don't send a warning. They just snap. Physical metal is different. If you hold it, you own it. No intermediary, no system uptime, no digital gate, no password reset, no account review. You become your own central bank, not in a cute slogan way, in a real way. Because central banks do one thing better than anyone else. They hoard what's real, and they issue what's fake. They hold hard assets, and they hand the public paper. So ask yourself, why do they want you holding paper while they hold hard assets? Why do they want you trapped in promises while they sit on the lifeboats? Now look back at the signal we opened with. Silver at 115s. Dubai flashing 400 plus AED per ounce. Shanghai paying $14 over London. That is not a fun headline. That is a map. A map showing where demand is real, where the squeeze is real, where the fear is real. And here's a detail that matters. When premiums blow out like that, it's often because people don't trust the paper supply. They want the thing in the hand, in the vault, delivered. Because in a crisis, allocated becomes a word, Unallocated becomes a trap, and we owe you becomes a joke. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, I'll just wait for a pullback, understand the trap inside that thought. Waiting feels safe. Waiting feels responsible. Waiting feels rational. But waiting is what the herd does, and the herd is always last to the lifeboats. Here's the ugly truth. When a market flips from price to availability, the rules change. Spreads widen, excuses multiply, delays begin. Shipping issues, backlogs, high demand, supply constraints. And then the words you never want to hear when you finally decide to protect yourself. Out of stock, not on the screen, in the real world. And people who waited discover something brutal. The screen price was never the full price. It was just the admission ticket to the casino. Now, I'm going to say something that might sting. If your entire retirement plan depends on the goodwill of a system drowning in debt, you don't have a plan, you have a hope. And hope is not a strategy. The awakened few know something the herd refuses to face. When governments get desperate, they don't ask politely. They manage. They stabilize. They protect. They temporarily restrict. They change the rules. They move the goalposts. They do it in the name of fairness. And fairness is the favorite mask of control. We have seen this movie before. Banks have limited withdrawals. Countries have frozen accounts. People have been told, you can have your money later. And later arrived smaller. Or not at all. And that's why this moment matters. Because silver at $115 is not just a price. It's a message. It's the market whispering what the news anchors won't say out loud. Confidence is cracking. And when confidence cracks, paper burns fast. So what does acting actually mean? It means you stop treating hard assets like a hobby. You stop thinking of gold and silver like jewelry. You start thinking like a central banker. Not because you love power, because you love freedom. Because you love sleep. Because you want choices even when the lights flicker. It means you think in terms of no permission required. Cash can be controlled. Accounts can be frozen. Cards can be declined. But a piece of metal in your possession, that is outside the digital fence, that is outside the policy memo, that is outside the overnight emergency measure. That is your lifeboat. Now let's get real. This isn't about becoming rich. This is about not becoming poor. There's a difference. One is greed, the other is survival. Retirees don't need thrills. They need stability. They need protection. They need a way to keep what they already earned. And that is why physical metal is so dangerous to them. Because it breaks their spell. It removes you from the game they control. It lowers your dependence on their promises. It turns you from a customer into a sovereign. And the system hates sovereign people. Sovereign people don't panic buy propaganda. Sovereign people don't beg for access. Sovereign people don't accept sorry. The system is down. They simply transact. They simply endure. Now, I want you to picture two neighbors, same age, same street, same retirement year. Neighbor one keeps everything in digits, statements, accounts, a lifetime of safe products. Neighbor two keeps some digits, sure, but they also keep real money. A stack of hard assets, not to show off, not to brag, not to gamble, to sleep. Now the shock hits. The temporary restrictions arrive. One neighbor is stuck inside the cage waiting for permission. The other neighbor has options. They can sell a small amount if they need to. They can trade. They can move. They can adapt. They are not begging a machine to approve their life. That's the difference. Options. Freedom. Breathing room. And breathing room is everything when the room starts to fill with smoke. This is why I keep repeating it. Silver is separating. The paper story is splitting from the physical story. And when that split becomes obvious to everyone, the rush is not gradual. It's sudden. It's emotional. It's panic. And panic is what creates shortages. Not because the metal vanished, because the metal moved into strong hands. And strong hands don't give it back easily. So here is the question that matters. Will you be early, or will you be the person who finally wakes up when the ATM is black? Because that day has a way of arriving without a calendar invite. It arrives on a random Tuesday. It arrives after a weekend. It arrives after a minor technical issue. It arrives when everyone is distracted. And then the herd runs. And the doors are narrow. Now, listen carefully. This channel is not here to entertain you. It's here to warn you, to prepare you, to pull you out of the trance. Because the corrupt system survives on sleep. It survives on denial. It survives on people saying, it can't happen here. It can. It has. And it will again. The only question is whether you will be ready. If you want to survive what's coming, you need to think differently than the herd. You need to prepare like the awakened few. Not with panic. With clarity. With action. Subscribe to Currency Rewind if you want to stay ahead of the rule changes. Because the system won't warn you before it locks the doors. It will smile. It will reassure you. It will tell you everything is contained. And then, one morning, you'll open that banking app and it will spin and spin and spin, and you'll finally understand the only money that never needs permission is the money you can hold.